And we're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Hey, Dream Builders. Let me see who's in the building. Let's see if we have any early birds. Hey, hey, hey. Who is here? All right. So I'm super excited because, well, let me make sure we have the right space, if you guys are in the right space. So I'm super excited because tonight we actually have not a woman, because y'all know I always have women, which is good. But I said, like, you know what? We want to try to bring some other people on board. And tonight we have Juan Rawls. And I'm super excited because we're going to move past just basic financial. Oh, what's happening? Let's see. I'm sorry, guys. I want to make sure that you have access to where we are now. All right, so you know what? We're actually just going to keep going. And if you can't, let me know. One, can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you. I can see you.
Okay, good. So let's just get started. So tonight we have Juan Rawls with us, and I'm super excited because Juan is going to teach us how to really how to operate the way wealthy people do, because success and wealth leaves clues. So let me tell you a little bit about Juan. He is a principal at JR&W and a certified public accountant. He provides a unique perspective on corporate, nonprofit, and church financial administration. He has a background of over 30 years of experience in corporate finance and Fortune 500 companies such as Time Inc., NBC Universal, and CNBC. Juan has managed financial teams overseeing budgets of over, $140 million in assets. That's a lot of money, y'all. And annual revenues of $1.1 billion. Juan has personally managed the finances of several progressive churches and successful nonprofit organizations for over 30 years. He's held office of VP and treasurer on several nonprofit board of directors, as well as a trustee in the local church. Juan has developed and facilitated financial seminars, workshops, and performs advisory services to churches, corporations, and provided personal financial counseling to many families through the state of New Jersey. Super excited. And he currently holds a senior finance role in corporate sales and marketing at Time Inc. So in other words, Juan is an expert and has been around some wealth, y'all. So what we're going to learn today from Juan is, how do we position ourselves to be wealthy as well, right? So Juan has given us some 7 baby steps to wealth. So we're going to start to walk through them. 7 baby steps to wealth. So if you're ready, let me know. For some reason, let's see. I think that you guys have the wrong link to Ask the Expert. Tonight's, sorry, Ron. Ask the Expert link. I just want to make sure you guys are here because I feel like you guys have the wrong link, and that's why. Here. All right, but they're coming. All right, so Juan, let's go with the first baby step of just first baby step for building wealth. You've said that build an emergency fund at least $1,000. So what do you mean by that, and how can we do that?
Well, the reason why I say that is because, well, let me just say, I'm glad to be here tonight, finally. I know we had a couple of times where we're trying to get together. So it's exciting to finally be here with you guys. About it. But to build $1,000 worth of emergency fund, the reason why I say that first is because people have gotten themselves into situations where they're using credit cards. I believe that in order for us to move into wealth, we're going to have to begin to get free from our debt.
Okay.
Huge. So many times you run into a situation. See, most emergencies are between $500 and $1,000. And what I mean by emergency, explodes, hot water heater explodes, your car breaks down. You want to have at least $1,000 sitting in what we call an emergency fund at any time, and not have to go into any debt, not have to borrow any money, not have to go into any credit cards, and have that available.
I agree. And so $1,000 should be enough to cover most emergencies.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, so number 2, you have pay off all debt. How are we supposed to do that?
Well, there's several different programs for paying off debt. You know, there's the snowball effect. There's so many master master debt reduction strategies. I'm sure you've shared some strategies, but to help people to realize that focus on paying off our debt. See, because the 7 baby steps to wealth might take you a number of years.
Okay.
The reason why I like using these is because many people ask me, you know, when they come into some money, they ask me what should they do with their money.
Okay.
Come to me and they'll say, oh, well, I just came into some money, stock. You know, what stock should I invest in? And I usually will ask them some questions before I tell them where to invest. So what I like is to go through these 7 steps. And I say these 7 steps are how you should save or spend your money over the next 5 years. So what I'm saying is maybe it might take you time to get your emergency fund set up. Okay. If you've never saved money. So now paying off all debt, I'm saying that should be the second thing that you say, that you spend your money on or do your savings of your debt.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if we have time tonight to actually talk about a debt strategy.
Yes, but I know what you mean. We've gone over debt strategy before, so I think the dream builders have some strategies they know. But you're saying that 1, you have to build an emergency fund because most emergencies are between $500 and $1,000, and 2, paying off debt because debt robs you of your ability to truly grow wealth. That's what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, and 3, I see you have save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Why should we do that?
You should do that because, you know, we're in a society now where, you know, you may find yourself out of a job. There's a lot of, you know, most of us have a day job. If you're out of a job, depending on your salary or your experience, it might take you 3 to 6 months to find another job.
Okay.
The recession back in 2008, I was downsized out of NBC.
Okay.
14 months. So you need, you know, when I was out for 14 months, I had a nice severance package, which I'd imagine if I had like 6 months savings. Okay. So when I got back to work, there was no, I didn't have any catch up.
Okay.
In order for us to move into wealth, we don't want to have to fall behind and play catch up again.
Okay.
Having that is incredible to have that kind of savings set aside.
So 3 to 6 months of savings. So that way, in case you lose your job, you have this buffer of being able to continue to pay bills while you look for another job.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's not easy nowadays.
No, it's not. So we're not saying anything. For those of you who might just be joining us, we have Juan Rawls. He is a wealth expert who has managed accounts up to $140 million. He has been around wealth. He's a certified public accountant, right? Well, Ron? Right? Sorry. And he's a senior, he held a senior finance role in corporate sales and marketing at Time Inc. And so he's walking us through the 7 baby steps to wealth. So number 1 was build an emergency fund of at least $1,000 because
that's right.
$500 to $1,000 is typically what most emergencies cost you, right? Number 2, pay off all debt. I think we all know why. Because, you know, debt robs you of your ability to really grow wealth. 3, save 3 to 6 months of expenses. You know, Juan says it's because if you lose your job, he lost his job post-recession like so many of us did. It gives you some buffer to find a job. And when you do find a job, you're not literally paying off things that you're 3 to 6 months late on. Right, Ron?
That's right. That's right? Exactly right.
And then 4, invest 15% of your income. Please explain.
Now imagine this. Emergency fund set aside so you don't have to use any more credit cards. You have no debt. You've gotten out of all of the debt. And when I say getting out of debt, I'm saying get out of all debt except your main household debt, your home mortgage. That's what I mean. So I'm not talking about paying off your home mortgage. I'm saying just get out of all like credit card debt, personal debt, things like that. So imagine you have the emergency fund, you have your debt paid off, you have 6 months sitting in the bank. Now you're at a position where you can begin to invest and start investing up to 15% of your household income.
Okay. And so like, what are some, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit later, but so you're getting rid of debt. So should you start investing before you paid off all of your debt? Do you have to be totally debt free in order to invest?
You don't have to be, but see the thing I look at, what I like to say, that we should make is in a home. Our primary residence is one of the strongest investments that we can make. I always encourage you to, all right, if you want to live in an apartment, get a condo or a townhouse. Begin to build equity for yourself. You want to have that equity in yourself as opposed to helping someone else buy that property. Yeah, investing would be, so because I'm almost in these 7 baby steps, I'm assuming you already own a home. But let's say you don't own a home. If you don't own a home, I'm saying probably between number 3 and number 4 is when you should save money to buy that home. Get that piece of property. Start with a condo, whatever you can afford, but get out of a rental situation and get into a home. Much money, use it to get a mortgage, to get a home. That I recommend.
Okay, so investing doesn't necessarily, because I think when people think investing, they think stocks, they think they think bonds, they think, you know, but you're like, no, that investing, your first piece of investment might be, okay, I'm saving for this down payment so I can get myself a mortgage. So investing doesn't necessarily have to be like those ways that you see like on TV. Okay.
Yeah, because a mortgage isn't really debt, because you have a piece of property attached to that mortgage, and there's an equity component in that.
Okay, no, I agree. My husband and I are buying 2 properties this year. One of them we've been waiting for almost a year to hear back on, and it came up just as the other one we were buying. We're wrapping up and closing soon. I was like, well, let's get both, because one is $10,000, but the location is amazing. So it's a tear down, but like there's so much equity. It's the property, like the land itself is worth $77,000. So there's equity built in. I couldn't say no to it. And the other one is a house that we're actually going to live in because we're renting right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So see somebody in a position like that. Now you're in position. You're debt free. You have your money set aside. Now it's time to invest.
Exactly. So step 5, you said start a college fund. So I'm assuming if you have children. So why should one start? So why should one start a college fund, and how soon should we start it?
Question. Now, I had a friend come to me, and they were 6 months pregnant. They were newly married, and they said, okay, I just came into some money, and I want to start investing in a college fund. So I said, wait a minute. And I walked them through the steps. I said, do you have emergency funds set up? No, I don't. Do you have all your debts paid off? No, I don't. Yep, I got a bunch of credit cards. I still don't own a home. I'm renting at over almost $2,000 a month. So I said, wait, investing in a college fund until you get these things taken care of. Now you could start on small side and invest small amounts, but I would recommend that you hold off until you get these things under control.
Okay. So a college fund, basically you can never start too early.
You can never start too early, but don't use, if you come into 25,000, I wouldn't say put 25,000 aside for a 6-month pregnancy. Home first, get out of debt first, and begin to put small amounts in. And then when you're really in a good position, now you can begin to pour in.
Okay, so basically it's almost like, you know how when you're on the plane and they tell you to put your mask on first before you put it on the child?
Yeah.
You're saying basically you have to make sure that your personal finances are strong before you start pouring into your child's future. Not that you shouldn't, but that without a strong foundation at like the parents, then it's gonna, like, it doesn't matter. You won't be able to really create a strong financial foundation for your child.
Exactly. Because what would happen if you have this college fund set up and then down the road, you end up having to shut down the college fund because now you run into a crisis.
Okay, okay, got it. So I see for number 6, you have pay off your home early. Well, one, where's the best place to save for your college fund? Like, what's a good account?
The college fund, there's good places. Yeah, I think it's a 529. You can go right to your bank or to your investment counselor. An investment for that.
Okay.
That you would invest in.
Okay.
And they do minimum amount.
Most banks have 5. And what I like about a 529 plan is that your family members can contribute to that account as well, right?
Yes.
So it's not just you. It's like, okay, grandma, auntie, uncle, we could all chip into your baby's.
All pitch in. Because you're going to say down the road, your child's going to do so well, you're going to end up getting scholarship, and then that money can turn, they could end up using that money for something else.
Exactly, like buying a house, starting a business, something else.
Yeah, that could help the child when they're ready to go out on their own.
So that would be like, what, to me, the best present you can give your child is a debt-free college experience, and then a little boost on their way out.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That sounds great.
So number 6, pay off your home early. Okay, so tell us what
Yes.
you mean by that, and how do we set ourselves up to do that?
Now, you imagine you're at this place, because after all these years, now we haven't talked about making money or earning income, right? Because of course, some of this won't happen unless you earn the proper income to do it. But let's say if you work your way through this plan, you're at this place now, maybe 5, 7 years down the road, you're ready to say, okay, now we're set. Now I can start paying my home off early. One of the things that I like to recommend is, you know that mortgages are starting to go up to 40 years now?
What? I didn't know that. That's crazy.
They're offering 30 and 40-year mortgages. But see, that's not in our favor, because you got to remember, for that extra 10 years, they're still charging us interest. Just a quick tip, over a 30-year period, if you take out $100,000 mortgage, you could possibly pay back $300,000 over 30 years. So here's my
100,000. No, I need you to slow down and say that again. I don't think people understand how crazy it is. So you can take out $100,000 mortgage.
Yes.
And end up within 40 years actually paying $300,000.
Yes, depending on your interest rate. Absolutely.
Wow, that's crazy.
We don't think about that. We always think about the mortgage. We think about the home. We don't think about the monthly payment. When you look at that principal and interest calculation, the amortization, when you see that interest, it can get you very nervous.
Yeah.
So here's what I say, and a lot of people if you would take out a 15-year mortgage.
Okay.
And a lot of times your mortgage company is not going to tell you about it, and they're not going to encourage you about it. But if you could get a 15-year mortgage, it might cost you about $200 more a month.
Okay.
Let's say I did a quick calculation. If you do a $100,000 mortgage at 5%, if you do a 30-year, it's going to cost $537 in principal and interest. 10-year, it'll cost $791. $4 more. But guess what? You're going to save over $50,000.
Wow.
Because you'll have your mortgage paid off in 15 years as opposed to 30 years. So you're going to save $50,000 just by paying an additional $200 and something more a month.
Wow. So paying up go ahead.
A lot of people don't think about that. We just sit at that table and we kind of are so excited about getting a home, we kind of sign very quickly.
So 15-year mortgage is really the way to go. Pay off your home early.
Because, we think, if I get a 30-year, I got $250 more in my pocket. But you know what happens. That $250 over a year, 2 years, you find another reason to spend that money.
Exactly.
So you might as well put it in the mortgage.
You're right. Because you're right. I think that people think that like, oh, I'd rather have that money. But it's like you're not actually going to do right by that money.
That's right. You're going to buy another car or something.
Yeah. So you have number 7. So for those of you who are watching, we're going over the 7 baby steps to wealth. 1, build an emergency fund, at least $1,000, because most emergencies are within $500 to $1,000. That's what studies show. 2, pay off all debt. Really, because debt is the enemy to wealth. 3, save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. So that way, if you lose your job, you have 3 to 6 months that you can still pay your bills. And when you find another job, you're not behind on your bills 3 to 6 months digging your way out. 4, invest 15% of your income. That investing doesn't necessarily have to start with stocks. Juan recommends that you're going to start investing, start with a home. It's still a great investment, despite what's happened with past recession and stuff like that. Investing in a home is still a great way to begin to grow wealth. 5, start a college fund. It's never too early, but start a college fund only after you have this debt pay down plan, only after you have your 3 to 6 months worth of expenses and you started to invest your income for your future. That it's important that you take care of the family unit first before setting aside for the college fund. Because if you can't afford day-to-day life, you're going to end up taking the money out of the college fund anyway. 6, pay off your home early. You can literally, Juan said that there's now a 40-year mortgage where, if depending on your interest rate, you can have a $100,000 mortgage and end up paying, what'd you say, $400,000, $300,000?
About $300,000 over 30 years.
Over, you said 30 or 40 years?
Over 30 years.
30 so a regular 30-year mortgage, you can literally triple how much you pay for that house. Can you imagine? You bought that house for $100,000 and the bank gets double,
That's right. I can show you an amortization schedule that shows that exact amount.
And so, and then 7, build wealth and give. So what is that?
Yeah, so now you're in such a good position. You have no debt. You own a home. You've actually paid your mortgage off. You're at a place now. You're at a place right now where you can really begin to build wealth. You can begin to invest more. If you've been able to build your lifestyle to a point that you can invest 15% every month of your income, man, now imagine your mortgage is paid off. You're very liquid. So now this is where wealth building really comes. Now you can begin to invest. You can become very creative. You could buy a business. You could buy other real estate. You know, I'm not saying exactly what you could invest in, but I'm saying this is the time that you can begin to build wealth. Yeah, I say give. I should have said give throughout the whole process, because I really believe that there is a power in giving.
Mm-hmm.
You give, you receive. And I think that there should be giving throughout all this period of time. You know, studies show that the average person gives between 3 and 10% of their income. So I think you should really, if you're not giving any money away, you should start somewhere and begin to give to some nonprofit or some charitable organizations, even to your local churches. And you'll begin to see there's a law of reciprocity by giving to you.
Yep, I agree. I believe that giving activates abundance. And so I like that. So give along the way. Build wealth and give.
Yes.
So, but what do you mean specifically about build wealth? Like, what do you mean?
Well, let's say now you have one home. Now you can begin to invest. I say build wealth by now beginning to invest.
Okay.
Strong. Buy a business. Begin to partner with others. You know, there's so many things that you can do. And, you know, of course, that would be a whole nother time of talking. But that's what I mean by build it. Because what I'm saying is you don't want to start building before you get these things in place. This process might take you 10 years, might take you 15 years. Some people have never saved $500.
Yeah.
Save $1,000 for an emergency fund. That's huge for some people.
Right.
And I'm not talking about a blue light special. That's not an emergency. Or Christmas shopping. That's not an emergency.
Yes.
But to build an emergency fund that you leave and don't touch, that's a challenge in itself.
Yeah, it is a challenge in itself. So I like that. So building wealth is like, okay, like now that you have you know, you've started to begin to invest with your house to really start to build wealth. Because there are some ways. So let's name some of the ways that people can invest. So you said you could buy a business. So I know I have the budget Nisa. What are some other ways that people can invest?
You can start your own business.
Okay, start your own business. What else?
Start your own business. You know, now you'll actually have capital to start at a higher level. You can start a storefront. You can invest in a franchise.
Okay.
Franchise has a little stronger guarantee of success. Say, as opposed to starting your own hamburger joint, you buy a McDonald's franchise, you're almost guaranteed to win.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You know?
That's what franchises are for.
Right. You can now begin to invest in those areas you were saying, stocks, bonds, mutuals at a higher level, greater rates of return. You can even take a little more risk. Like between item 1 through 6, I don't recommend you take a lot of risk. I don't quickly recommend investing in just stocks, because you know how risky stock is.
Yeah.
But now you can risk a little bit more. So there's many different opportunities. I'm learning more from talking to my wife and listening to people like you. I'm realizing there's so many opportunities on the internet that people are starting to do now.
Mm-hmm. So what I like is that basically what you're saying is like everything else up until step 7 is preparing you to be able to really build wealth. So you can't really build wealth until so for those, we're going to go over some of the steps again. So number 1, build an emergency fund. You need to do that before you really build wealth of at least $1,000 ideally. Number 2, pay off your debt. You know, debt is the enemy to wealth. It's literally the opposite. Number 3, save 3 to 6 months of income and expenses, right? And so that's critical, because before you can really start to invest and build wealth, because anything else beyond that, you're really risking your financial safety should you lose your job, right? Number 4, invest 15% of your income. And so that's like, and 15% of your income, that beginning investment, really look into to start that beginning investment by investing in a home, right?
That's right.
So that we can start to build like concrete financial foundation. Number 5, start a college fund if you do have kids. So because you want to make sure you take care of you and the larger household first before you start putting aside for your child's college fund. Because if you don't and you find yourself on hard times, you're going to end up taking the money from the college fund anyway in order to make ends meet. Number 6, pay off your home early. Instead of opting for a 30, even 40% mortgage, just so you can get in the house, you know, really opt for that 15-year mortgage so you can pay much less money. Sometimes you're paying 2 to 3 times what the house costs in interest, depending on how much the house is and depending on what your interest rate is. So that's 6, pay off your home early. And step 7 is when you can actually begin to build wealth. So investing beyond the home, right? So stocks, if you're going to do that, buying a business, you know, writing books, like owning a business, franchising, and then giving. But giving should lace throughout all of these 7 baby steps to building wealth. Did I get it?
Excellent.
Excellent. Good.
Yes.
Okay. And so people have some questions, and then we're gonna do, because Juan also has something like manager tips, like the top 3%. So he has 5 tips to do that. So I'm gonna answer some questions before we get to those. So let's see. Let me see who asked the question. I see Tiffany. Okay, so Camille asked, where should they save their emergency funds? Where should they save their emergency funds, Juan?
You should have the emergency fund in a place that's very liquid. I would say that should pretty much be in like your checking account. I would put it in a small savings account that you can get to immediately. You don't want to have any hassle having to go to the bank or do any closing out any major accounts. You want to be able to get to it quickly. So maybe you could just have a savings account or your checking account, but that you don't touch it. You set it aside.
Okay. Okay. So I like to too, like sometimes I like to save my stuff in an online only savings account. So the reason why I like an online only savings account is they typically give you a higher interest rate because they don't have the brick and mortar like regular banks. And 2, it makes your money hard to get to because you have to wait 24 hours before you pull it back into your regular checking account. And so it stops you from like impulse buying with your savings.
Okay. But the only thing, what I was thinking is you have emergency.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you have at least 24 hours. I'm not thinking I'm stranded on the side of the road, car breaks down.
Yes. No, but I see what you mean. So maybe saving some there. Yes. So maybe saving 500 closer. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Just liquid enough that you can get to it. But you're right. I agree. You want it. It can't be something that's too easy to get to.
Yes.
You're walking through Nordstrom and the light that they say on the loudspeaker 50% off.
Yes, I agree. Because it's so easy. That's why I like to keep mine slightly where I have 24 hours to get to it, but not, but not so easy. Because I have definitely one of those people that used to transfer my money from my savings to my checking right from my phone.
To your checking.
Yep. So somebody else asked, how long must you invest? How long? I don't know how long. How long must you wait? I think she means before you invest in a franchise. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, just basically like we were saying that we want to move that down to like between 6 or 7. Number 7 is when you start investing. Like I was saying, this is a period of time that we're talking about. These baby steps take you time to get to that point where you want to start investing. So if you're saying you want to buy a franchise, what we're saying is don't buy that franchise right now. You come into $100,000. Don't buy a franchise now when you haven't even got an emergency fund. You haven't paid off your debt. You don't own a home. That's what I'm saying. So let's wait until we can secure those things first.
Okay. Okay. So basically, it's not necessarily a time frame. It's more so about where you are on the 7 steps.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
All right. Let me see. You guys have some good questions. So let's see. Money market is also good. So that's a good place to house your savings, right?
Yes.
And the money market account, because they tend to give higher interest rates.
They give higher interest rate, right?
Okay.
And they give more perks for that also.
So tell me, you said, so Juan has these 5. So for those of you who are just joining us, we're talking to Juan Rawls. We're talking about keys to your financial success. He has a website. What's your website? jrwfinancials.com?
Yep, with the S. Yep,
okay.
Giant Financials.
Yes, jrwfinancials.com. And you have a free gift for us, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Okay, how does that free gift work?
Well, what we'd like you to do is go to the website when you it's an email. I think we have it set up where you send us either an email. I don't know I'm not sure how we set it up. Was it an email? Was it just to the website?
Okay.
But we're going to give you a free gift on how to put $1,000 into your pocket without getting a raise.
Okay.
Some tips.
This is what I'm going to help. So you're going to go to jrwfinancials.com and there's actually a contact button. And so you could just say free gift, please. Can they do that?
Yep, they can do that.
Okay, there you go. So
Yep.
JRW Financial, and there's literally a contact button right on top, and you could just say free gift, please. And that free gift, because you are a dream builder, is he's going to show you how to put $1,000 in your pocket without receiving a raise, which is awesome, because that is tip number 1 to 7 baby steps to wealth. Thank you, Juan.
All right. All right.
All right, so now let's talk about managing your money like the top 3%. When you say the top 3%, what are they earning a year, top 3% people?
Oh, I'm talking about that 3% of wealthy people throughout the world. Because, you know, you hear a lot about that 1%, but it's really 3%. When you talk about when you put the whole world, it's like 3% have all the world's wealth. I don't know how many you're talking about. These are like people in the billions.
So these people making like, these are not people making $100,000 a year. These are people making $1 million a year.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Seven zeros with commas.
Wow.
I always think it's nice to learn some of these secrets. I get excited about learning secrets of the wealthy, you know?
Yes. So, what happened to your website? Did we break it already? I just went to your website and it was, and then it was up and then it was gone.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Make sure you put an S, because there's somebody in Pennsylvania that has JRW Financial.
No, that's what I use, and it was up, and then it left.
Uh-oh.
Yes. So I'm not sure what happened. Like literally, I see people like, I'm on the website. I was just on the website, and it was fine.
Maybe so many people went on at the same time. I've never had that kind of traffic.
Yes. Yeah. I was gonna say. So give it a moment, because literally I'm on his website right now, and it's working. So JRW Financial, the free gift is not gonna go anywhere. So just. I feel like it was too many of us on. Because I'm like, what happened? I was just on here. And then I saw there was an error. It's not used to that much traffic. So just give it a
And I'm not going to press any buttons because I don't want to mess up.
It's fine. All right. So now I want to go over that, like what? Because I know you've worked with some of the top 3% of earners, correct?
Right, right.
So let's talk about what wealthy people do on a regular basis concerning their money. It's like, let's talk about it. So 1, they develop a cash flow plan. First, tell me, what is cash flow?
A cash flow plan, I'll say, I like using that term because a lot of people don't like when I say budget.
Okay.
So a budget is a cash flow plan. But a lot of people, when they think of budget, they think of it in such a negative. Now, maybe your followers don't, because you're the budgetista.
Yeah.
And you sound so good. But most people I come in contact with, as soon as I say the word budget, you can see they turn off. But they don't realize that it is a plan to get them from part A to B. We're talking about with building wealth. When you put your cash plan together, you got your first year, you're saying, how do I put my budget together so I'm going to save this $1,000?
Okay. So
cash don't look at it like that.
So basically,
they just look at it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
they just look at it. They look at it as a budget is such a negative thing.
So basically, a cash flow plan is a budget.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So
when you hear that, when your people hear that word, don't get worried. That's what they're talking about. Even in a corporate environment, when we say flow plan in our corporate environment, but it's no more than a budget. That's all.
Okay. So,
but the thing is, we say it that way because it is a plan to get us to where we want to get to.
So a budget is like an actionable item, basically. So it's not just this dead document that you're like, but it's like literally like, this is what the money is doing. And this is what this is the plan that we have for the money to do something so it can be maximized even more. So budget is like, okay, I like that. So it's a plan. I like that. So that's one. So we're talking about right now, guys, 5 ways to manage your money like the top 3%. So the top 3% of the world owns all of the world's wealth, basically. So Juan has worked with and for some of the top 3% of the world earners in the world. So number 1 is they have a budget, basically. So don't think you're too cute for a budget.
See, that's what it is. They always have a plan. Okay. And I think what a lot of us do is we don't have a plan. Like we think, how many times do I go into a workshop and the first question I ask is I say, how many of you have a written plan, a budget? And less than 20% of the people raise their hand because we feel like, oh, I got this. I know what I'm doing. But no, we need to write this thing down. We need to look at it and manage by it. And I think a household manages better when we look at that thing on a piece of paper. It helps us get to where we want to get to.
Okay. So a budget is not a dead document. It is basically a series of action steps that you want, that your money is currently doing and that you're going to have your money do in order to reach your goals. Okay,
That's
I
right.
like that. A plan. So you make a plan for your money, number one. So number two is track all your expenses. Please explain.
Now, one of the biggest things that when people put budgets together, they just put it together in one column. That I'm familiar with people putting it together in one column and say, this is what my budget is. I spend. But you know what? Before we do that, we should really track our expenses.
Okay.
I usually recommend, and I'm sure you do also, you have them track it for at least 3 months or so. Let's see what you really spend. Because that's when it becomes more realistic. They track their expenses. They know where their dollars are going. Don't be fooled. Many of them, they'll hire people that are actually managing their money day to day. And they sit down with them on a weekly basis. You know, statistics show that people of wealth check their money 3 times a week.
Wow. So did you hear
that? They don't let it just go.
People with wealth are checking their money at least 3 times a week. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, because they're not just and you're talking about these are the rich people. These aren't the poor people. These are people who have a lot, but they're constantly keeping an eye. They're dealing with their money on a daily basis, and we have to get into that.
Dealing with your money on a daily basis.
Yep. So tracking it, keeping an eye on it, and you'll be surprised how much you're wasting, how much you're spending, how many more discounts you can get if you keep a track of it.
So I think people think that like when you get rich, you're like, oh, I don't care, I'm just spending, and you're like, rich people are not willy-nilly with their spending.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. You know, if you ever heard of Forbes 400, Forbes comes out with a list every year of the 400 richest people in America. And you can get booted off of that list if you spend more than 30% of your income a year.
Really? Wow.
Years ago, they would not put him on the list because he spent money. And isn't it a shame how they look? They don't want you to spend money. That's the way they look at it.
Wow. That's crazy. I did not know that. So you can get booted off the list if you spend more than 30% of your income, because the wealthy, why is that the wealthiest among us actually don't spend much money?
I don't know. I mean, they just keep building it. I don't know what it is in their mindset, but they're constantly building it and adding more and doing more things, and it just keeps building.
Okay.
And this is what they keep doing. Like they never just, if you ever notice, the rich person never just stops and says, okay, I have enough.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So we should have that same mindset. Look, I'm going to keep building till I get to that place where I can build the wealth that I've dreamt of.
Okay. Wow. I can't believe. So daily checking in. So we're talking about 5 ways to manage your money like the top 3%. Develop a cash flow plan, AKA a budget. Some of you are asking like, well, how do I develop? I'm actually going to get you a link right now. I have a book that I wrote called The 1 Week Budget that breaks down for you how to create a budget and a financial plan for yourself and automate it. Because I mean, you know, it's just important. It was one of my first books, and it's still like it was a #1 Amazon bestseller for like forever. But yeah, I'm gonna post a link for that so you guys can get that. And so number 2 for managing your money like a top 3% person is to track all your expenses. Wealthy people are checking 3 times a week, most daily. So checking in on their money, they're not letting their money willy-nilly. It's like, no, where you going? What you doing? Where you going? You know?
That's right.
You have to treat your money like your wayward teenage child. Where you going? Where you going? Who you going with?
I like that.
Right? Because you know your teenager is out there getting into foolishness. Where you going? Who's that? What? When? Where? Why? You know?
Yep. That's right.
So let's talk about number 2. Understand the power of cash. Not number 2, I'm sorry. That is number 3. Understand the power of cash. What do you mean by that?
Right. See, this is why when we talked about the 7 baby steps, I really believe in pushing towards cash freedom, debt freedom.
Okay.
I believe cash is king. Now, I know there's people are moving more and more to plastic, but our society is trying to move us more to plastic because it's a lot easier. The emotional impact of spending plastic is a lot lighter than it is spending that green stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
$500 and you went into the store, you'd act a little more, I don't know about you, but I would act a little more shrewd in my spending than when I have that plastic card in my hand. There's something about it that we detach from our money. Okay. Cash, you find yourself being a little more shrewd about it. So what I'm saying is there is a power in cash. You go to most places and your cash has more value than debt. Let's say you try to buy a car. That's what I'm trying to say. You want to go buy a car. You walk into a car dealership with $10,000 cash. I promise you, a car for probably $8,000 if you show them cash.
And that's what I did. I bought my car about $3,000 or $4,000 less. Yep, because I bought it cash.
There you go. You're a perfect example. Think about it. Furniture, you can negotiate. Now I know there's some stores, Macy's, you can't negotiate. I understand that. But buying cash, that you walk through the store and you have cash. Now when that blue light goes off, now you're going to get the best discount because you have the cash available. So what I'm trying to say is we need to understand that power of cash.
Okay.
And not debt. You know, because it's too many people of color get involved in so much debt.
Yeah, we do.
Killing us, and it's so easy. That's what it's so easy. We don't realize that debt is at 28%. Credit cards are at 28%. Discover. That's a lot of money. That means if you have $1,000 credit card, $30. Right? Is that no? That's
even more. $380.
That's $300. Yeah. So $1,000 credit card, you owe them almost $300 of that. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. So understanding cash, your money goes so much further. Imagine this: you buy the car like you bought the car $3,000 cheaper instead of paying full price and the loan interest for 5 years.
Yeah. So all of that money now I can invest into myself and my future and my wealth.
Yes. Yep, for that same 5-year period that you're now, instead of paying the monthly note, now you can be investing that same money.
So I like that. So understanding, so like I said, we're going over the 5 ways that you can manage your money, like the top 3%. So number 3 is understand the power of cash. All right. So number 4 is save and take advantage of compound interest. So what is compound interest?
Compound interest is just basically interest that earns interest.
I like that. So let's stop that again. Right? Compound interest is interest that earns interest. Okay, I like that. Go ahead.
Right. Interest that earns. And so what it means is like let's say if you invest in something that you're investing in that has an interest rate, like a bond or a mortgage-backed security, that you say, my investment is that I'm investing and they're paying me a flat percentage on that. So let's say you invest $100,000. Let's say you invest $100,000 at 10%. You'll get $10,000 that year in interest. Next year, you'll get another 10% on top of the $110,000. It's compounding. So instead of just getting paid 10% on that 100 that you put in every year, the interest gets added to that number, and you get interest on that interest also. Wow. So what's so powerful? I did a quick just to show you the power of it. Let's say $2,000 a year at 12% for 20 years, you'd invest 40 grand.
Wow.
But you would have $161,000 in the bank.
Wow, because of the interest that earns interest.
That's right. And by leaving it there, and that's how the rich people do it. That's how they do it. They invest in, and they just leave it there. And over 10, 20 years, you look up and that money has tripled, quadrupled.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's really the key.
So learning how to save like that. And so buying bonds or buying things like mortgages, and that's why that's what I'm saying, when we get to that place where we can build wealth, you can invest in mortgages or mortgage-backed securities that will have these kind of yields on them.
So Camille asks, is 12% the norm for investing though?
12% is sort of an average on a very good stuff.
Okay.
But that's a high number. I'm using a high number.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But it's possible. So look what's happening with cryptocurrency. It's earning like 1,000% interest right now. That's crazy. And growing at such a rapid rate.
Yeah, there's some investments you can get in on the ground floor and you make a lot of money. But on average in Wall Street, it's a lot. You're right. It's not 12. It's probably a lot lower than that.
Okay.
But I just want to give an example.
Okay. But yeah, but still your interest earns interest. And it's still more than just you spending, because there's what they call assets and liabilities. So let's maybe go over that real quick before we go over our last point. So what's the difference between an asset and a liability?
Well, an asset is that which is that you have value in. It's value to you. It's something that you own. Where a liability is something that you owe.
Okay, so asset you own, right. A liability you owe.
Right. Okay. So let's think of a house. So think of a house. You buy a house. You own the house, $100,000 house, but you have a mortgage for $80,000. So you owe 80. That's the 80,000 is a liability, but the house itself of 100,000 is your asset. So then your net assets is that $20,000 difference.
So the difference between what you owe and what you own.
Yep.
Okay. That's why they say really is a car really an asset?
Yep.
Because you buy a car and it's, say you get a car for 10,000 and that's how much you owe. But then but the car itself is actually only worth now maybe like 9,500 because, you know, cars go down and depreciate in value, meaning like the value goes down. So that's why they say oftentimes cars are not really assets, because at the end of the day, you're going to end up owing sometimes more than what the car is worth. It's so crazy to me that you can actually, like, I got the shirt from like Target or Marshalls or something. I can return this shirt within 30 days and get all my money back. I can't do that with a car.
Oh, absolutely not.
Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely not. But the good thing, and here's a quick tip about cars. If you buy a car after the first year, between the first year and the third year, you can buy it and you could almost sell it for the same value.
Okay.
So let's say you get a car with, like, you don't want, if you buy what you're talking about is like a brand new car. You're exactly right. You buy a brand new car, you take it off the lot. If you were to turn around tomorrow and take it back to the dealer, he would buy the car back from you for much cheaper than you just paid him.
Okay.
He would not give you full value. But so what you do is you wait a year. You get a late model car. So you get a car that's a year old at a much cheaper rate. And if you sold it 6 months later, you could get almost the same value that you paid.
That's the key.
You want to get an older, a late model vehicle, and then you could turn them over a little quicker and get stronger value. You're right. You might not be able to get the full value, but at least you'll get a strong value.
Okay. And so number 5 of 5 ways to manage your money like the top 3%. Number 5 is live below your means. Yes, you're preaching to the choir over here. Well, at least me. So what do you mean by that?
I mean that the average American today, I'll say the average, but many people in America today are living at 120% of what
wow. Stop right there. 120, meaning that they make, so let's just say they make, because it's easier, $100 a year. They're actually spending $120 on their life a year.
That's right. That's right. Because of credit cards, personal loans, mortgages, things like that. So they're living above their means. So you could just only imagine over the years, assuming it's going to crash.
Yeah.
You could get to the point that your lifestyle is 75%. That means you have a 25% cushion. So that gives you that, remember we talked about that 15% investing every year, 10% of giving money, contributing. So that gives you a lot of liberty right there. If you could get to that point, so we haven't talked about earning money, and I know you teach people how to make more money and things like that, but once you want to get your income to that place where you're living on only 75% of everything you bring in. It's a powerful place to live at.
So, okay, 75%. So if you're making $100, that you're living at no more than $75 of that $100.
Yeah, and I'm talking about take home. And I'm talking about that when I say, you know, I'm saying what you take home, because you're right. You know, let's say that 100 is what you're taking home.
Okay.
75, absolutely. That gives you so much to build and to invest.
Okay, so these are great. So Juan has shared with us 7 baby steps to building wealth. Build an emergency fund of at least $1,000. Pay off your debt. Number 2. Number 3, save 3 to 6 months of expenses. Number 4, invest 15% of your income. Number 5, pay off your home early. Number 5. Number 6, pay off your home early. Number 7, build wealth and give. So, and we also talked about 5 ways to manage your money like the top 3%. Number 1, develop a cash flow plan, a budget. Number 2, track all of your expenses. The wealthy people track their expenses mostly daily, but at least 3 times a week. Number 3, understand the power of cash, because cash, when you use cash, you can physically see it leaving versus just swiping a card, which I think I saw a study that said you spend upwards of 18% more swiping a card. Number 4, save and take advantage of your compound interest. So compound interest is earning interest on interest, earning money on your money. The money that your money earned, you're earning money on it. And number 5, live below your means. No more than 75% of your take-home pay. Did I get them all right?
Oh, you got it absolutely right. Now, I'm not saying, I mean, this is a place to get to, right? This is a great place to get to. It's goals that we can achieve. And if we set our face towards those and get to those, we'll be living good.
So can you speak to annuities, or do we have to get a different expert for that? Juan, do you feel comfortable?
Yeah,
That's
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
a
I'm
whole
not
nother.
licensed.
Yes, because
I do know a couple of people who are licensed in selling annuities and stocks and all that, but I'm a CPA, and I'm sort of like you. I work with the debits and the credits and the budgeting.
Yes, and so I tell people, like, so Tanisha, we always have experts that's their specific expertise. So we'll definitely get somebody on to talk about annuities, because you have to be careful when you're licensed and what you share advice on. So we're always mindful about that. Yes, so I'm super excited. So thank you so much, Juan. Do you have any last things? And do you guys have any questions? We still have a little bit of time for questions. If you guys have any questions, ask. But yeah, do you have any kind of like lasting kind of things you want to leave us with?
Well, there was one thing that I was going to talk a little bit about, but I didn't know have as like a recommended percentages of expenses.
Okay.
That would really be helpful to people, because what happens, I remember I was going to talk about a little about the securing the 5 pillars in our lives. And the 5 pillars, you've heard people talk about: food, clothing, and shelter. And I was just going to kind of go into those a little bit and talk about how to secure those. We need to have a strong foundation of in our life in those areas. And if we don't have those, it's hard to move on to the next phase of life. So not only is it just food, clothing, shelter, but what I like to add on to that is we need to have our transportation locked down.
Okay.
Stress relief taken care of. So there's 5 things that I believe are like pillars that would help us, that as we move forward into building our wealth, these need to just kind of be covered. You know what I mean? Like, if they're not covered, you can't build, because you're constantly worried about your foundation shaking.
Okay.
So I guess you would say it's like your foundations and preparing for the long haul.
Okay.
And so it's, people talk about making sure, your food, your clothing, your shelter. Transportation is so important. I just, because I know for me, like, I take public transportation, but if you have a car, it's so good to manage and take care of your car well. I mean, you just talked about buying a new car. If you don't take care of your car well, your car is going to hurt you in the long run. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you don't do routine maintenance, if you don't get your brakes done regularly, you're going to get hit with a large hit.
Okay.
They're going to say, oh man, you need to get all 4 brakes done, and you have all these other issues. So it's going to cost you $1,500. Where if you were taking care of it regularly, you might only pay $130 every 6 months.
Yeah. So it's like, so maintenance is critical in all areas of life. And maintenance, actually, because people think that they're saving money, like, I don't have the money for that brake. But if you don't pay for the brakes and then you mess up, so the brakes rub against something called the rotor.
The rotor,
so,
exactly.
I learned this a hard way. So ask me how I know. So the brakes might be $100. You mess up the rotor, literally the car is not going to be able to roll properly. Then you mess up your tire, and the whole thing has to be replaced. So it's cheaper to take care of. It's almost like going to the dentist regularly to avoid getting the cavity, because the cavity, you let your tooth, the cavity dig deep enough, you actually have to get a crown, which is $1,500 versus getting a cavity fill.
If you would have taken care of it. And that's kind of what I was talking about with the 5 pillars. Like, there's so many things in our life that if we would just take care of them on a regular basis, even like when I say food, we're talking about our health. If we take care of our health as we go, then we're not going to get slammed with something. It's like, even with our shelter, like I believe when it comes to shelter, it's talking about making sure we're getting a place to live that is within our means. You've heard of, I'm sure you talk about being mortgage poor or rent poor, meaning that you're spending more to live. There's some national recommended percentages that we have. You shouldn't spend any more than 25 to 35% in your housing. In your housing, 80% because you want a more lavish place to live. You're going to find yourself having more trouble. The kind of things that we were talking about, that it's like the old term, if you could run the machine at a high level, it's going to break down and require more maintenance. So it's better to run it at an even level. Make sure you're managing it as you go. Keep it oiled, keep the gas in it, keep it working in all these areas, and you'll find yourself not having to have these major hiccups.
Okay. So regular maintenance of your money in the long run is going to save you so much more.
Yes.
Okay, so regular maintenance of your money, really
invest. So good. You just say everything in such one sentence. You're just able to, I'm saying all this stuff, and you say it in one sentence, and you just capture it.
It's good. It's good. Well, we want to say thank you so much, Juan. So I've added Juan to our Facebook group, as usual, with all of our experts. And like I shared with you guys all the time, that the purpose of the budget of the Academy is to be like a buffet to all things financial, really all things of a richer life. And so if you're wanting to connect with Juan, and Juan is actually doing a giveaway where he's giving you a free gift about how to put $1,000 in your pocket without receiving a raise. And the way you get it, don't rush there now. Give it a little, because last time everybody rushed, we done broke this man's site, right? So it's JRWFinancials.com. It's up now. I'm on here now.
Everybody must have went to our website, and our website couldn't handle it.
Yes. J as in Juan, W as in Rawls, and like robot. Look at me, W. J as in no, I like them to say it right. So J as in jumping jack, R as in robot, W as in water. So JRW Financials with an S.com, and just click contact me, and just say freebie please, and he'll send you that freebie. Like I said, the freebie's not going anywhere. It's not a limited supply. So just if you go and you see the site is down, just because too many of us have surged in, but definitely get your freebie. All right. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed tonight's Ask the Expert. Do you have, somebody asked, like, do you have any of the percentages, Juan, about how, like, the nationally suggested percentages of how much for shelter, how much for food, that kind of stuff?
I'll add that to the free gift. I'll add that.
Oh,
good.
The free gift also. So he's going to add that to the free gift. Thank you so much. So you'll get that. So like I said, JRW Financials with an S, he's going to add that to the free gift when you click contact me on his website and say free gift, please. See, Erica, right. you ask and you shall receive. Yes. Thank you so much, Juan. This was excellent.
All right. Thank you so much for having me today. I enjoyed this. This is great.
And if you get
You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. And if you get a chance, Juan, join us in our Facebook group. And remember, guys, so one of the things I asked you guys to do is to tag Juan. It's Juan Rawls, R-A-W-L-S, right? R-A-W-L. Wait.
R-A-W-L-S, like Lou Rawls.
Yeah. So tag him. Tell him that you enjoyed tonight's session. Use the hashtag #AskTheExpert. And so we can, so, Juan can see how much you appreciate. And if, like I said, if you have any additional questions, I've added him to the group. So I just want to say thank you for coming. It's always a pleasure when, we get an awesome expert to come on to do their thing. And so we don't take it for granted. We always appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.